Today we are going to be doing a piece of work that is an abstract piece of work. The first thing I'd like you to do is to take your sketchbook and go around the house or the garden and just draw out various shapes of things that interest you. You can see that I have done that here on my page. I've gone into every room and drawn something that I like the look of. I have then used these shapes to look at various different designs and doodle around things that I find interesting, trying to find some kind of composition that I like for my final piece that I'm going to make. Eventually I have decided upon something like this, and you can see that I have labelled the things that I have used. I haven't used everything that I found and drew, and I have changed quite a lot of it. Sometimes you can change the shapes. I was playing around on this one, thinking about how to make some of these things that are actually got curves on them angular, and this one and this one, and so you can change the things around a bit. Your first drawings are just your starting point. Okay, so I've decided very roughly on my composition, and I've also started to give a thought about what colours I would like to have in my piece of work, and I have decided upon pink and green. So getting out my watercolours, I've come across one of my paints that I haven't used for such a long time. It's gone completely hard, but it is called Carthamus Pink. Now they don't make it anymore, very sadly, because it's one of my favourite colours, and I just want to show you how vibrant it is. So what I have done is I've opened up the tube at the bottom. I've put some of the dried bits into my palette here and put water onto them. So I'm not completely wasting a tube of beautiful paint that you can't get anymore. So what we're going to have to start with is some washes of colour with watercolour. Now, as I said, because I've got this colour I want to show you, all I'm going to do here is just get some of the paper wet as I wish it to be in the shape, central shape down the bottom there, to see where I put my water. And you'll see, maybe you can see there's some little spots of the colour coming up already, and that's because when I got it out, the little bits of dried paint just flecked off. So I've got this area wet, and I'm going to go into the edge of that shape with this colour, and on the other side, if I can see where I put it, there it is. You can see that it's a very strong colour. And over time that should seep together. So I'm now going to leave it. So you can see here I have manipulated the paint a bit, put a little bit more in. It is still very wet, but we're going to let it dry before we can go back and do any more. This is a project that could possibly take you a few days while you let the bits dry in between. So this is dried now, and I'm going to use some rose madder, which I have in this little pot here with quite a lot of water in. I want it to be fairly transparent, so I'm just going to put some of it over like that. And in the other little one I have some rose d'or, which I'm going to use on the other side as well. Quite a bit on there. I've got this brush here, which is called a mop brush, which is lovely for using with watercolour because it holds a lot of the paint inside it. So you can do nice big sweeps like that. Okay, and I am now going to let that dry. So those two have dried now. I've just got a little bit of Naples yellow on my brush now, and I'm going to put that through this area here. And some on this side. So I've got myself some ink here. I've got some acrylic inks and some of these drawing inks as well. And I'm just going to use some of this colour through here. So I'm just squeezing it through. That's pretty disgusting there, that one. Take that bit off. And you can see that they are quite, they're strong and they're permanent. So these shapes I got from some angel wings in Giles' room. Now I know I said that I was going to do pink and greens. I seem to be veering towards pink and yellow. I found some very old inks here, probably about 30 to 40 years old. Let's see if I can get anything to work with those. Oh yeah, quite nice. You'll see how strong the colours are. This one, it's called Carmen. So I've just had a quick look at what's going on in the picture and the way that the watercolour has dried, and just used some of those shapes there with the ink. I have some mixed in my palette here, some sap green and some Indian yellow, and I'm going to have it with a lot of water in because I don't want it to be too dominant, and I am going to just do in some of these shapes that I want to have down here. So I've just done a few more bits and pieces to it, playing around with the shapes that I drew out to start with, laying down some colours and just overlapping some colours on top of other colours. I will continue to play around with it and show you at different stages. So I've done a little bit more there, you can probably see. I've put some inks in here, they're still very wet. I've overlaid some colour over here. I've done a few more bits of colour up through here and some of these shapes. I'll carry on playing around with it, but I'm going to leave those inks there to dry for just a minute and then we'll see which direction it goes in. It's now very much a painting of its own rather than the one that I first drew out, so I might change it completely. So I've just done a little bit more playing around with it here. I have put in some darker areas here. I have used the pink to go over these edges. Where this pink meets the green here, this blue-green, it's made kind of a purple colour. I've put some more darker colours in different areas. So it's just now looking at what you've got and thinking about how you can tie it all together. Okay, so I have now decided it's finished. It's one of those things that could go on forever. I have added in some inks and some oil pastel, and I've tied it together by putting some colour just around the edge to give it a bit of a frame. I've obliterated some of the things that I didn't like, I didn't feel they were working. I've made another shape in here because I wasn't sure about the whoosh that came through the painting. So there are all kinds of decisions you can make. It's often very difficult to know whether it's the right or the wrong decision. Anyhow, I have taken some photographs of it in progress, so I will let you have a look at those and you can see them in different stages. You don't have to use the same materials as me. You could do a collage, you could use fabric, you could sew into your paper. There are all kinds of things that you can do, but the starting point is objects around the house or garden, drawing simple shapes and then making into an abstract piece of work. It's a lot harder than you may think, making an abstract piece of work, but give it a go and see how you get on.